Yes, Tarot lesson number 131. And today is going to be a bit more about queens. And this is the thing I didn't mention last time. And I will try to talk about reversed queens. Somebody asked for that, but I may forget, in which case I'll do it later. So, if you remember from before, we had the queen in a chess game. So, the queen can move forward, back, left and right, as well as diagonally. So the queen can move forward, she can move back, she can move to the right, and she can move to the left, right? We've got a cross. But also she can move assuming there's nothing in her way. She can move this way diagonally, and this way diagonally, and this way diagonally, and this way as well. So when I made that drawing in my mind, it occurred to me, this is like the phases of the moon, right? Because you've got the new moon here, for instance, and then opposite is the full moon. And then here we've got the first quarter, and then here we've got the third quarter. And so a fellow called Dane Rudyard, many years ago, 1935-40, wrote a book called The Lunation Cycle about the phases of the moon, because there are 8 phases. And so he talked about how when you go from new to full, you're dealing with action. And when you're going from the full moon back to the new moon, it's about consciousness. So I'll write down CONSC. And I think we can make use of this idea in connection with the queens. So when a queen comes up in a spread, it depends what the question is, of course, and it depends who's asking and things like that. But it might be interesting for you to experiment a bit with this idea that, because if you remember, we looked at queen and king. King was 11 and queen was 22. So the queen's twice as big or twice as powerful, or has two types of strength, because the strength card is number 11. 2 types of strength, more or one more type of strength than the king has. And maybe this is the point about queens. They can take action, but they can also think it through, depending on where they are in the cycle. And so when a queen comes up, this is all about so we know what to say, so that when any card comes up, we talk sensibly and in a valuable way for the questioner, so they can figure out better what to do or the best way to go about doing something. So with a queen, whereas with a king, you're kind of limited in what you can do, because the king in chess can move 1 square at a time, but can't move into check, and so on. So the queen's got more freedom and is stronger and is the most powerful piece on the chessboard. But so with the tarot, the queen has got the ability to take action, but she's also got the ability to think things through. Action, consciousness, and thinking. At the first quarter and the third quarter, there's a time of review. So at the first quarter of the moon, you review what you started here at the new moon with an eye on where you want to be at the full moon. And you review what you've been doing, what actions you've been taking, so that you reach your goal represented by the full moon. Whereas at the third quarter, from the full moon back to the new moon, you've done the best that you can. Now you're coming back to a new beginning, ultimately. And halfway between the full and the new, at this point, you stop, or you pause and you review what you've learned maybe, or what you've picked up, or how things have gone and what you want to change, because there's going to be a new beginning in 2 weeks approximately, or however long it's going to be. There's going to be a new beginning, and you don't want to just do what you've already done, because presumably there's going to be new requirements, new priorities, new demands at the new moon. So we want to be able to see what we've learned from this cycle so that we can go into the new cycle better and better informed and more capable and more able. So one thing is the moon moves very quickly through the zodiac. She goes through the zodiac once every 28 days, roundabout, spends 2.5 days in each sign of the zodiac. So the moon, and therefore the queen, because we're looking at this is the queen's cycle or the queen's procedure or process. The queen moves quickly. And so I think we can say, or something for you to consider, if a queen comes up, it's not going to be like that for long, because the moon moves quickly, the queen moves and changes quickly. There's also a phrase that talking about the inconstant moon. So with a queen, you can trust what they say today, but you can't assume that today happens to be Monday, but you can't assume that on Friday they're going to think the same or going to do the same or going to want the same as they wanted at the beginning of the week, because the queen changes quickly. The king's fixed, but the queen moves quickly and can change. So don't expect the queen to be consistent and to be the same a month from now or 2 months from now as she is today. Whereas with a king, you can have more confidence that the king is not going to change that much from week to week or month to month. So I also thought of numbering this. So if you call 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, because maybe we want to know if the Queen of Cups comes up, where is the questioner? Or let's say the Queen represents you, the questioner, although it can represent somebody else as well. It can be a condition, but let's say it represents you. So you're the Queen of Cups. You might want to know, okay, that sounds good. Action and conscience. Where am I at this point in my cycle? Am I meant to make a new beginning? Am I meant to review? Am I at my full power? Am I meant to review what I've learned? Or am I meant to think about a new beginning coming up soon? And I think what you could do is, you may know from the rest of the spread, you may get an idea. If you've got aces, it's a time of beginnings and so on. Whereas if you've got a lot of cards that are 8, 9, and 10, you're at the end of the cycle. So you're dealing with time for a new beginning coming up soon. But if you're not sure and you've got the Queen of Cups, maybe what you do is you just shuffle briefly and you take the card. There's the 8 of Swords as it happens. So the 8 is back here. The 8, you're going from, it's called the dark of the moon, where you can't see what's going on much. You've got to figure out what you've been through. And so you're about to make a new start with the new moon. Whereas if somebody wants to know who am I, and you pick a card and you get a major trump, you can't know. Because sometimes you can give a straight answer to people. Sometimes you can't. Partly because if you give them an answer, they'll misunderstand it and do the wrong thing. They'll think you said something, but you said something else. Or else maybe the situation isn't fully developed yet, and that's why you can't give an answer. Because sometimes you can't answer the question just because it's not ready to be answered. And that's nothing to do with you. It's just the way things are for the questioner at that time. So sometimes if you get a major trump like we did there, instead of thinking, okay, I better pick another one, there's a 4, you don't do that. If the first card you get is a court card, you can't give them an answer to where they are in the cycle. If it's a major trump, you can't give them an answer to where they are in the cycle. So you don't pick again and try to give them an answer. Accept that you can't always give everybody the answer that they want. But then, let's say another time I pick the 4. So the 4 is up here. And so you've begun things, you've thought through what it is that you've been doing, and you know that you're in good shape to get what you want represented by the full moon. Because at the full moon, the moon in the sky is the same size as the sun in the sky. And it's quite interesting because the distance from the moon from the earth is an awful lot less than the distance of the earth from the sun. But when we look at them, because the sun's so huge and the moon isn't that big, they seem to be the same size in the sky. So at the full moon, you're at the height of your power. You've achieved all that you can achieve. Now it's time to think back, to benefit from what you've done, and then understand that you've reached the high point that you can reach, and now it's time to go back and start again in a couple of... I'm talking about the moon cycle, so we're talking about 2 weeks. This is 1 week to here, a week, another week, and a second week, or 2 weeks from the full to the new. So that the other thing is, as I was putting this together, I thought of this card, the Wheel of Fortune, and what's in the middle. We've got a cross, and we've got the angular lines as well. So maybe there's a connection between the Queen cards and the Wheel of Fortune, that they can bring sudden advancement and sudden change, or they can experience sudden advancement and sudden change, but also they can experience sudden loss, unexpected difficulties. So if you're represented by, or the person's represented by the Queen upside down, make sure that you've got as much information as you can possibly get, because it's likely that you're going to be missing something, or you're going to assume that something is going to happen, but it can't. It's not that it's not going to, it's just that it can't, because fortune is against it. So with all this in mind, I made some notes that you might like to try for... so I've got the four... I don't know if you can read that, but I'll talk through it. First card was the Queen of Pentacles. So maybe you think about... You do your own diagram, your own version of new first quarter, full, and third quarter, and think about action and new action and the fulfillment of action, and then the need to think it through, because you can't just keep getting more powerful and more powerful. You have to come back to being like down to earth again. So if you do something like that, then you get a piece of paper, and you've got the Queen of Coins at the top. You've got 2 types of information you want to get from the card, so that you know better what to say to somebody if the card comes up. So the Queen of Pentacles, I've got 2 points for action and 2 points for consciousness. If you're going from the new moon to the full moon, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, what have we got? New values and design. So with the Queen of Pentacles, when it comes to action and going from the new moon to the full moon, or from 1 to 4, what do you're meant to take action, but understand that you've got new values. What do you care about now? And what do you care about going forward? Be sure, or figure out what it is that you want to achieve next, or what you want to achieve soon. And make sure that what you want to achieve is in harmony with what you actually want. And you actually care about this thing that you're going for, or that you say that you want. And then once you know what you care about, then you can design the activities or the actions you need to take to get you to the thing that you want. And that can be the action side of the Queen of Pentacles. Whereas the consciousness side, what did I write? Reflect. Okay, and win-win. So because you're going from the full moon back to the new moon, it's consciousness. So think things through, and think about how you went from the starting point that you set and the finish point that you have just been through, and what you learned from it. Reflect on how things went, what you would do differently, what you would do the same, what worked, what didn't work, what needs to be changed, what needs to be tweaked. And also I got down win-win. Can your you're going back to a new moon. Can you figure out how everybody can win? Where no matter what you do, it's a win-win situation for everybody. And I'm reminded of Bruce Springsteen, who once said, unless everybody wins, nobody wins. And that seems like a good point for the Queen of Pentacles. Then we've got the Queen of Batons. There she is. So the Queen of Batons, same idea. We look at the Queen of Batons and we get to know the card and become comfortable with it and try to figure out what she's telling us or what she's into or what she would want. And so I've got for action, I wrote down enjoyable and inspiring. So with the Queen of Batons upright, what can you do that is inspiring of you and other people? And what can you do that's going to be enjoyable? And that can be what the action to take if you're represented by the Queen of Batons. It's not so much knowing what you care about, it's more doing what you enjoy and what inspires you and what might be inspirational for other people, because it's a suit of batons, which is inspiration and enterprise. And then for consciousness, I wrote down, be more yourself. So you've been through some things already, you've tried certain things, they worked or they didn't work. Apply the lessons that you learned to yourself and get bigger, grow within yourself, so that when you come back to the new moon, as will happen, or when you get back to the new beginning, or it's time to make a new start, you're bigger because of what you've been through, instead of just being the same and not learning anything from what you've been through. So I wrote down, apply lessons. Apply the lessons that you've learned to yourself with the Queen of Batons. Then the Queen of Cups is this one. Queen of Cups. So again, take a few minutes and just sort of spend some time with the Queen of Cups and get a sense of what she's about. So if the Queen of Cups is taking action, do what feels good. It's not necessarily what you enjoy doing, because that's more direct and action-based. It's more like what feels good. If it feels good, do it as the Queen of Cups. And if it doesn't feel good, don't do it. And it may be with the Queen of Cups upside down, you're involved in things that don't feel good or that don't make you feel good and feel worthwhile. So I think the point is, don't do that anymore. Change it. Do something different. Do what feels good and things will flow. Because the second word I wrote down was growth. What can you do? What action can you take that will bring about growth within you or within your circle or within your family or within your job or whatever it is you're asking about? That's the first part of the cycle, the part of action. For consciousness, I got... So you're meant to think things through on the second half of the cycle. So I wrote down, sort through what gives you the best results and do more of that. Rather than, so yes, do what feels good, but when you know what feels good, identify it and sort it and do more of it, because you're going to get the result that you want. But it's important to not just ignore what you've been through, but to assess it and figure out what's best for you, or maybe what's best for the company. It depends what the question is. And the other thing I wrote down is benefit everybody. What can you do, or what ought you to do in the future that will benefit everybody? It's not just you, the Queen of Cups, but the larger family of which you remember. How can everybody benefit by your thought and by your future actions, because we're coming back to the new moon or the new beginning? And last but not least, Queen of Swords. So again, put the Queen in a piece on the table and spend a couple of minutes wondering what the Queen of Swords is like. And I wrote down, okay, so what action, because this is the first part, what action does the Queen of Swords take and I wrote down prune. She's got a sword in her hand. So maybe the action of the Queen of Swords is to prune out the dead wood, or to cut out what's no longer valuable or useful. So she's pruning and cleaning up and clearing the ground, so to speak. And that's her purpose. And also I wrote down decision here. So with the actions that the Queen of Swords takes is making a decision about the direction in which you want to go. And actually so the Queen of Swords upside down, you're indecisive. You're not willing or able to choose one way or the other. And then on the second part, coming back to the new moon, coming back to the new beginning, I wrote down serious and teach. So think things through, assess and analyze what you did on the way up, so to speak. So assess it and analyze it, and somehow be serious in your approach to what you've been through. And also teach. When you've learned something, a valuable lesson, or you've learned something that works, or what to do or what not to do, pass it on to other people. And so that they don't need to suffer what you suffered through, or they don't need to make the mistake that you made. And that can be the task of the Queen of Swords when she's in the second part of the cycle, represented by 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay, that was a bit more about queens. So just sorting these cards, and I'll put the queens and separate them so they're not all stuck together. And then a quick shuffle at the end, and that's it for today. So thanks for watching. I was going to say, if you didn't already do it, maybe take a look at the tarot.ca and download the PDF about, I can't remember what it was about, but it's there. It's below the newsletter sign-up form. Take a look and take a read. You might find it useful. And also, I've got an idea to do some writing and put it into a PDF with maybe 10 questions and answers, and put it into a PDF that you can then download. I don't think it'll be ready for the next video, but ideally the one after that, there'll be something there for you to download. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.